think. Hello and welcome to another episode of Global Gurus, Thought Leadership in 15 Minutes. I am Laura Gassner-Otting and I am joined by one of my intrepid co-hosts, Arthur Karmazi. And today, and today we are talking to a dear friend of mine, Rachel DeAlto Mahoney, who is one of the top 30 global gurus on communications. Rachel, welcome to Thought Leadership in 15 Minutes.
So happy to be here for 15 minutes.
So this is like a quick and dirty. We want to find out exactly what you do, what you know, and how you apply it. So we have 3 questions. What's the biggest problem you see right now? What is the original methodology that you're applying to it? And how are you seeing impact with your clients? So Rachel, let's start with the very first one. What's the biggest problem you see right now in the world?
I feel like we could spend 15 minutes talking about this, but I think the biggest problem that I see in the world is disconnection, and I see it becoming increasingly more problematic because of AI. And so it's kind of the two are interconnecting for me. From a communication standpoint, we are communicating through and utilizing AI to a point that we're actually causing more disconnection, and it's becoming extremely problematic, especially in the professional, in all professional worlds.
Okay, and specifically, yeah. What is the elements of AI? I mean, so look at it from a perspective of what is the psychology behind it? What do you think that is?
Well, it's interesting. So I love AI. I am pro AI. We are friends. I utilize all of them for different things. But what I'm seeing so often, and I'm sure you have both experienced this as well, when people are utilizing AI to create human connection, whether they're writing social media posts or they're writing their emails or even their text messages. I had a friend who said that they were using it in their conversations with their spouse so that they said the right thing at the right time. And they wouldn't even reply back to a message until they ran it through AI. And so all I'm seeing with that is that it's taking the humanity out of the conversations. It's taking the humanity out of the communication. And all of a sudden now we're seeing it. We all can see, when a post or a message is clearly not written with soul. And so that's where I'm seeing just a huge disconnect starting to create. And it's running the gamut of, professional sides of it as well, whether we're talking about sales or building relationships or just communicating. The minute I see something that I know clearly was written by one of the things that I utilize on a daily basis for a variety of reasons, I start to disconnect. I don't trust.
So Rachel, I know that you often describe yourself as a recovering attorney, right? So you are somebody who has spent a lot of time being very particular about word choice and about relationships and about transactions. And so to be somebody who is the expert in relationships and making them not transactional through the correct word choice, I also think the other thing that's fascinating about you is that you spend time as a chief relationship officer at Match.com. So you understand relationships on lots of different levels. What's the original methodology that you're bringing to solve this problem? What makes you a guru?
Yeah. So I have been studying relationships for decades. And even when I was a lawyer, I think I was really good at the mediation aspect of it. So I have been working to bring people back together for over 20 years at this point. But my methodology, I use a relatable framework and I use a scene framework. So I have 2 different methodologies. The scene is more new, but relatable is something I've been teaching for the last 10 years. And it's a 3-part framework of really how to approach relationships. And it's through connection, communication, and inspiration. And so we walk through that framework to make sure that people are showing up in a genuine, authentic way, that they're communicating in a way that really places themselves in the other person's shoes, a little beyond. I mean, it's empathetic and compassionate, but it's also just a lot of thoughts around just how we show up energetically as much as what we say, and then really thinking about our intentionality. So that's the framework that I apply to pretty much every single relationship, whether I'm talking to a room of judges, as I did yesterday, or a sales team, or having a conversation with friends. I think through those.
All right. So when you're doing this do you have like a special system? Have you created an AI simulation for it?
No.
Are you doing it individually? I mean, how are you delivering this, or is it just you?
It's typically just me. Yeah, I haven't started a certification course or anything of the sort. I was like, maybe in 2028. We've got the next couple of years planned out. But no, it's typically through keynotes, through workshops is some of my favorite, to really dive into the applicability and practicality of how we show up in all of those different situations, to get people thinking about, okay, this sounds good, or this sounds like something I could utilize, but how does it apply to every conversation that I'm having? How does this apply to every relationship I'm looking to build?
Okay, so
and that also, go ahead,
you talked
Laura.
about the relatable having 3 parts. So can you talk about, and I mean, I love to talk about scene. I don't know how much you want to talk about it. You've given me the privilege of hearing a bit about it. And if you want to give us a little bit of a sneak preview, that's awesome. We can go there. But you talked about relatable having 3 parts. So can you just give us a couple sentences on each of the 3 parts and how you're applying that with your clients to get some real world impact?
Sure. And it's something I apply, but it's also something I teach them to apply as well. So connection is really about building trust and really being genuine and authentic and genuine. I think, to me, intertwine a little bit more than some of the definitions that are out there. And so showing up as yourself, not using AI to talk to your spouse or your sales goal, whoever's on the other side of a sales call. Communicate is really about our presence, but also our adaptability. Instead of thinking, I need to own this conversation, I need to pay attention to this conversation. I need to be dialed in, or as my 20-year-old says, locked in. You got to get locked into the conversation to make sure you know how to pivot around. Yeah. And then inspire is not, going out and giving a TED talk. Inspire is about intentionality about how we show up. And I think that's one of the most important things. We talk about inspire in terms of purpose and understanding why we're here. But what about just that direct application of what is my intention in this moment? And so that's the one. It's funny. I had this yesterday. So I was with, I speak to quite a few judiciaries, but yesterday I was with municipal court judges, and I did this in 5 minutes, showing them, set an intention before you speak and see how it changes. And so it's really just that direct application of the thought process, and then allowing them to utilize it in whether they're having a sales call or a team meeting, or just having a conversation with someone, a colleague or someone in your network. It's really applicable in every situation to up-level that relationship.
Absolutely brilliant. You want to give us a little hint on the scene one? I'm also interested.
So scene is a whole other ballgame. This is my heart. It is my soul. So scene is really the power of seeing people, truly seeing them and feeling seen as well. It started off as an idea that I was like, this will be a keynote in a book. And now it's turning into a TV show that we start filming on June 14th in New York City. Very excited about that. But it's really about, who are we really? And so I do have a framework for that as well, because everybody needs a framework. This is more of a pyramid. And so it starts out as acknowledge, just general acknowledgement. There's so many people in this world that don't feel the baseline of acknowledgement, and then validation of who we are, and that you're not too much, that your ideas or your person matters. And then it's include, because you can put a seat at the table, but if not bringing anyone to it, it doesn't matter. You can pull as many seats up as you want. But then the top of the pyramid is what I get goosebumps. I literally have goosebumps right now talking about it, which is know. Like, how do we truly know people? And I think there is a huge juxtaposition between how we show up and who we appear to be and who we truly are. And if no one is trying to figure out who we truly are, we are missing the entire point of our existence.
Wow.
I love that. And I think I've told you that I have all of this research that shows that people who work for bad bosses leave, but people who work for good bosses, but who feel like they have no relationship with that boss, leave at the same rate as people who work for bad bosses. And there's just such a huge difference between being loved, being appreciated, being respected, and being truly seen for who you are and what you bring to the table. So, I mean, I grew up with, like, the worst thing you could be called is like a freak or a geek, or like a nerd. Like, nobody wanted to let their freak flag fly.
Me too.
And now, right? Like, Arthur's like, yep. But
we're like, quiet.
Let's celebrate it, right? Let's celebrate it. But like, there is distance between that. Like, I am really excited to be who I am, and also I might be punished, right? We have millennia of years of evolution saying, if you're strange, you get ostracized, you're out of the tribe and you die, right? So
and then you become a guru after
and then
that.
you become a guru, right? Then you become a guru. So how do we get over that hump of like, it's actually okay to be seen for who you are? There, you will find your people.
I think it starts with us seeing others. I believe that the power really comes when we focus on seeing others, when we focus on creating that space for other people to feel accepted for who they are, then it becomes that domino effect of we're now able to show up a little bit more clear. And we see that all the time. The minute you're in a conversation and it gets a little bit more vulnerable or a little bit more real, you know, a lot of, not that we're like this, but there is people in this world that show up and there are smoke and mirrors. And then the minute that someone actually says something that's a little bit more realistic, a little bit more vulnerable, it gives someone the feeling that, oh, I can say that too. That's the space that I feel safe in now, because now I can show up this way as well. And I think that is what we can do in terms of feeling seen and being seen, is giving other people that gift to then have them pass it on. And that's my entire goal with the show. At the end of our conversations on this show, it's, you know, I want people to say, wow, I want to be seen that way. And I want to try to see others that way.
I love that. I love that. There was I did a bit on Good Morning America, right at the beginning of the pandemic, where I was pleading with leaders to stop using the green screen, right? To stop hiding who they are. Because if your workers are at home and they're like, oh my God, I've got a pile of laundry and the kids are running through the room and I'm just trying to survive this pandemic, but your boss is presenting this like perfect, everything is clean, everything is beautiful background, you don't get that opportunity to see each other and to have trust. And there is like, you do have to show your cards first sometimes, right? You have to be vulnerable first. That's a really scary thing to do.
Yes. That was actually my favorite part. I used to talk about that in my keynotes, where I was like, my favorite part of the pandemic was seeing the people with real backgrounds and real children or pets or, you know, chaos, because it gives you something. It's like, it's the Us magazine or the People magazine. The stars are just like us. We're constantly, I mean, it's ridiculous. They went to the grocery store. I go to the grocery store. It's the dumbest things, but it truly is we're trying to find those points of similarity. And so the more that we can create that moment, the more that we can create that space for people to say, it's okay to be really known. Because think about if you go this entire life and on your deathbed, nobody knows you. Nobody knows who you really are because you've been hiding it the whole time. It breaks my heart. And I think it's such a disservice to you from a personal standpoint, but also from a professional standpoint. The people that are super successful that I know, they're showing up as themselves. And it's scary. And it doesn't mean that it's, you know, there's nothing in the way. There's no barriers to that, but they truly are. They have now owned who they are. And maybe it takes time and effort and intention, but I think we can get there.
It also depends on which country you're in. So sometimes the barriers of culture do affect how you allow yourself to be vulnerable and seen. So there's still a very large disconnect in various countries, specifically because they just haven't evolved to the level of acceptance there.
Yeah. What if we,
or at least that's what people believe, and nobody's really willing to try it, right? So
yeah, and it takes a revolutionary to start that. And I believe also everything is relative, right? We don't need to, it doesn't need to go from 0 to 100. It could be 0 to 10. And it's those baby steps. What was that? Was it Richard Dreyfuss? I'm going to date myself right now. The baby steps. Oh my gosh. What was it? Never mind. Someone out there.
Bill Murray. Was it death therapy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss. Death therapy. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm old.
Yeah. You don't look old. You say you have a 20-year-old. It's like you look like you're 30.
Oh, I'll take it all day. I was like, Botox and wine.
I know you're a Guinness girl. I know
That's
you're
right.
a Guinness girl.
I actually had a couple Guinness glasses out behind me, and I was like, I'm going to put those down for now. I was like, we don't have to let them all.
So that's very interesting. Even you are hiding a little bit of yourself there, right? So we have to practice. We have to practice being truly seen. I have a bottle of scotch that's down just below the window, and I'm like of my view, and every once in a while I'll like turn it down so someone can see it, but sometimes you got to, different audiences need to see you differently also. So it's interesting. there's like 100% of who you are. But I always say to people on social media, people think they know me, they know everything about me, but I share 100% of about 60% of my life. And the other 40% is still private. It's still mine, but I can still be fully me in the parts of my life that are public.
Yes. Yeah. And it's okay to have different versions of yourself as long as they're all genuine.
Yes.
And as long as you're showing up.
That's one of the things, you know, that we actually have different versions of ourselves in different environments. I mean, when you're with your friends, you're not pretending to be different. You just are than when you're with your family and when you're at work. These are areas where we bring out different facets of who we are, which ultimately determines the kind of culture that is created within the environments that are around us, whether it's a relationship or whether it's a company.
Yes.
I like to say we all have that. All the instruments are in the band. We're just turning up and down the mixing dial depending on where we are. So Rachel DeAlto, Mahoney, where do people find you if they want to learn more about becoming relatable or being seen?
RachelMahoney.com. We've got a new direction and some new social media handles. So, but RachelMahoney.com is a great start.
Very exciting. Thank you for joining us today for Thought Leadership in 15 Minutes from Global Gurus.
Absolute pleasure.
Thank you.